I wanted to bring on Greg Smith. Our new colleague came over from Rivals, based here in Nebraska, joining us here on the show. But good time to talk recruiting with Greg is Nebraska got a big-time in-state commitment from Tory Pittman on Friday. Kind of a Friday news dump. I don't think anybody was expecting it to drop in the way it did. He didn't go through the traditional Hayes Fawcett edit process. It just kind of happened. And get some more insight, because Greg was really the first person to put a prediction in, to put Pittman to Nebraska. Greg, first of all, Greg. Welcome. And what kind of led you a while back? I mean, what did you hear that kind of made you feel good about where Nebraska sat with Tory Pittman?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me, and I'm glad sad that I'm not going to be in on that barbecue discussion, but that's okay. We can do that another time.
Bring the Chicago. You bring the Chicago flavor, right?
Yeah, we can get some stuff going here on this, but Q39 is the best one. But back to Pittman. The thing that led me to wanting to put that prediction in early on him was really that I felt like when you talk to him, and I've talked to him several times, both in person and on the phone, over text messages, the team that he gets the most excited about on a consistent basis was Nebraska. Like, it was always everything just always circled back. Even when, he went on a visit down to LSU, and it just kind of, you talk to kids after visits, and you guys have, like, there's that visit high and guys are really excited. He was just like, it was okay. Like, LSU was fine. But yeah, Nebraska, I've got great relationships there. So I think between that and the fact that, he's got some people in his corner, namely Abdul Muhammad, who's really pushed Nebraska and I think has really resonated with Pittman. And then it's home for him. That was what he talked to me about a lot when we talked after he announced that commitment, was that it was very important for him to kind of put on for his home state and to help lead Nebraska back to where he said they belong.
Greg Smith, so class of 2027, two guys, Trey Taylor and Pittman. What is the significance of Pittman? Why is this so important? Verbalize that.
Yeah, so it's a good question, because you obviously see it on the other side with Trey Taylor, but what ends up happening now is that you now have a defensive bell cow, so to speak, and a guy that is very well known. When you talk about kind of a top 20 in the nation player in Tory Pittman, and I think that's across the board at this point, that's a kid that other players around the country know. And it's not like, it used to be where, if there was a top 20 in the country player from Omaha, there may be kids down south in Georgia or Louisiana or in Florida that have never heard of this kid, and they're like, who is this kid? But now, with the way that kids get out on the camp circuit and on the 7-on-7 circuit, and he plays with a national team and a national schedule, he knows all of those kids, right? And so they've played with him. They know he's good. He's been able to build a relationship with them. And so it really helps them to be able to have another elite, like, blue chip prospect in this class that kids can identify right away and want to go and play with.
Who would you say, Greg, was the coach that at Nebraska, or coaches, that really impressed Tory and made him feel comfortable to pop the commitment?
Yeah, there were two that he mentioned to me. Addison Williams was the first one that said that might be the person that he has the best relationship with of any coaches that he spoke with throughout this process. And that's something that I feel like you hear consistently about him. And then the other one, which is something that I honestly think is new for Nebraska fans based on all the other head coach things we've seen, is Matt Rule. Matt Rule gets a lot of credit from these recruits, and he got it from Pittman, and the attention to detail that he's had throughout the process, and how welcoming Matt Rule has been to Pittman and his family throughout this process as well. I think you got to give a tip of the cap to both of those two guys.
I'm glad you mentioned Addison Williams. What is your impression of him as a recruiter? This is now, Greg, obviously gigantic score for the new coach. I mean, just a monster score. He gets this belt. What's he like? What's your feel for Addison Williams as a recruiter?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that I sense, and that it feels like kids mention, is how relatable he is. I feel like he's a kid that immediately kids feel comfortable talking to him, and they can both talk to him both about football and on the field stuff, which is obviously important, but also just kind of shooting the breeze and talking about things off the field and just talking about life in general. I think that's something that kind of gets overlooked and underrated when we talk about these kids and building relationships, is that these kids don't just want to talk about about football all the time with these coaches. They also want to know that they can relate to them and build relationships outside of the football field, because that then means to them that they care about them as a person outside of the football field, of what they can just bring on the field. So those are the two things that really jump out about him.
Greg, and back to Trey Taylor too. Are you going to be able to get out to Chicago to watch Trey play once this fall, you think?
Yeah, I'm trying to get out there for when they play. I think it's Montini Catholic against Israel Abrams, who's another big time quarterback in his class out in Chicago. So yeah, I'm trying to get out there to see him again, because I saw him last year, and I like to see that growth, right? And I saw him over the summer when I ran into you guys down at the field, and so I want to see that growth of his game. Yeah, I'll get out there and see him.
Hey, Greg, as far as Pittman's concerned, are we talking about a pure free safety here? Is that what Pittman is?
So it's interesting. I thought that it would be more of a pure free safety, but then in talking to him and in talking to some other folks around the staff, is that they view him as someone that could play that free safety, but also can come down because he's a willing tackler. He could play some corner as well because of his coverage skills. They pitched him on maybe playing a little bit of offense. If you've seen him play 7-on-7, I think he's very natural as a pass catcher and as a route runner. So that didn't surprise me. But I do think the main position will be free safety. But when we start talking about, hey, you can layer those other things in too, that's how you know they've got a really good prospect on their hand.
100.
One other central question, Kylon Haney. I know Nebraska early offered. It's always hard to get a read though. Like, are they pushing hard for a commit? What's your read on Kylon Haney, where he sits as far as like a priority for Nebraska and some other teams, and maybe trying to get an earlier commit out of him?
Yeah, I think he's kind of middle of the board for Nebraska. I do think that there's some other guys that they're kind of prioritizing, like at the top of the board right now. But it's tricky, and we know this has been a thing, right? That we'll see how that then plays out, because Wisconsin, on the other hand, I don't think that he's kind of mid-board for them. I think that Wisconsin is really pushing for him. I know he wants to go out there in the fall and see a game at Camp Randall, and so that'll be an interesting situation to watch, because he's a kid that, every time I seen him, I feel like he's gotten a little bit better and better. Have been impressed with his ability to improve his pass catching ability out of the backfield and his route running. So I'm curious to see kind of where his recruitment goes overall this season. Well,
Greg, it was great to have you on, giving some insight here on Tory Pittman, big time addition for Nebraska, pairing him up with Trey Taylor. Appreciate the time, and we'll bring you back some barbecue from Kansas City.
Appreciate it. Bring me back some. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Greg, thank you. Thanks.
All right. Thanks to Greg Smith from Rivals. Some great insight there.
Huge kid. Huge kid.
You saw those clips.
Oh, God. And here's the thing, Sean. I hope the media around here makes a big deal of this, because we sure make a big deal of it when some Nebraska kid leaves. So when you get one.
The highest ranked one ever.
See, that's the thing. Yeah, this could be the highest ranked Nebraska kid Nebraska's ever scored.
In the online era. Because like back when Amon Green and Scott Frost were recruits, they were high. They were like that high too. Bill Walsh came to Wood River, and obviously Amon Green had Michigan and Notre Dame and everyone imaginable on him.
So yeah, this is a guy that you anticipate getting a 5th star.
Yeah, today, right now, he would be a 5-star. So on 3, what they do is they wait. They don't name all the 5 stars early, but the top 32 get to be 5-star by the end of the process. Well, right now he's the number 23rd overall player. He's
gonna get a 5-star.
So he would be a 5. And on 3, Rivals. Now we have him at 16.
See, here's the deal. And then the other part of this was really valuable having Greg on, just for I guess it's kind of a no-brainer. Addison Williams coaches the secondary, but still, Addison Williams getting this guy is big for Addison Williams. It's an immediate statement for a young assistant coach.
Well, and let's be honest. There's definitely, with the number of in-state kids in Omaha going to places like Iowa State and other places, it's led to some kind of hurt feelings. And, for you, Nebraska, to say, no, we're taking guys that can compete to beat Michigan and Oregon and Ohio State. And we came in and got the one we wanted. And Matt Erickson's the guy they want to. They'll get a couple. I think this year was a unique year, because Jet Tamala is the best player in the state.
Oh, this is right. I know. But see what you're talking about. I believe this is kind of a flex by rule. He won't, he can't talk about it this way, but he has said we have to recruit a certain kind of player. In this case, it's a guy who visited LSU. Michigan's on him. Ohio State wasn't, but Michigan was. His list is incredibly. Oregon is on Pittman's list. So you got a guy, and it illustrates what Rule's talking about, what you just said. You're not going to take anybody, but we're going to take the guys we think we can win a Big Ten title with. Pittman, Trey Taylor, off to a great start in 2027.